On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, new trailer just dropped for an upcoming little horror film called Abigail and looks awesome. The Venom 3 logo was just revealed, and it pretty much gives away who the villain in the film is going to be. Also, Lucasfilm has just confirmed that they are developing Ahsoka Season 2. 28 years later, the follow-up to 28 Days and 28 Weeks later is apparently officially in development. Also, will Deadpool 3 end up being the #1 box office film of 2024? There are 3 actresses in the running for Supergirl in the upcoming DCU. We're going to talk about those. And Pedro Pascal has apparently, I guess, kind of confirmed his Fantastic Four involvement because he's just cleared his schedule for the new shooting schedule for Fantastic Four. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or even a bit different than ours. Joining me in studio today, we got Ray Ora.
Hello.
Jonathan Voico's here.
Hello.
Chris Carr is here.
Hi, guys.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it into 2 parts. In the first part of the show, we're going to talk about those predetermined topics that I just listed off. Then in the last part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, we already asked our beloved YouTube channel members to fire in some topics, but if you guys are watching live, and you got to be watching live, you guys can fire in any thoughts, theories, opinions, or questions you have in the super chat feature in the live chat, and we'll get to those at or near the end of the show. All right. With that all down, guys, let's get things going with this. You know, it was a while ago, near the beginning, I'm going to say, of 2023, that they announced this new little movie coming called Abigail. And I'll be honest with you, I've completely forgotten about it. And then today, out of nowhere, they dropped the first trailer for this. And even though this is not my kind of movie, oh my God, it is official. It's official, guys. My favorite trailer of 2024 so far.
Oh, wow.
Abigail is officially my favorite trailer of 2024. Big claim for January 11th.
The backlash.
Years early.
Way early, but here it is. For those of you who don't know much about the project, this comes from The Hollywood Reporter, who said the following. After a group of would-be criminals kidnapped the 12-year-old ballerina daughter of a powerful underworld figure, all they have to do to collect a $50 million ransom is watch the girl overnight. In an isolated mansion, the captors start to dwindle one by one, and they discover, to their mounting horror, that they are locked inside with no normal little girl. Directing duo Matt Valenti-Olpin and Tyler Gillette broke out with their horror feature Ready or Not, which I love that movie, went on to direct Scream, which revived the franchise in 2022, and they followed that up with Scream 6. I will tell you what. I thought this was just going to be some kind of a Guy Ritchie style action comedy with a bunch of interesting, assassin hitmen are hired to just guard this little girl. And it was going to be about some kind of, mayhem that happens between them. But when she's in with the little girl and she's giving her a little pinky swear, and then the little girl goes, Janice, or whatever her name was, I'm sorry for what's going to happen to you. Like, wait, what? What's going on here? What's happening with this? And then all hell breaks loose in the trailer. And I'll tell you what, I ate it up. I thought this looked amazing. I love this little girl. I love the cast of characters they have in there. I love that you got Giancarlo Esposito in there as well. So apparently, supposedly one of the kidnapper arrangers, all that kind of stuff, when you realize that the assassins themselves are the ones being kidnapped. I loved Ready or Not. I mean, that was one of these little horror films that came out of nowhere that I didn't really have no expectations for it. And then I sat down and watched it. And again, everybody in the world thought that was Margot Robbie starring in it. Who is it again?
It's, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. She is
it's Lord Elrond's same last name as Lord Elrond. And I'm forgetting the Agent Smith and I'm forgetting her name. But at any rate, that turned out.
Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you, chat. I appreciate you.
So that movie just thrilled me. And this definitely has Ready or Not kind of vibes. I think this looks great. I'm excited for it. Chris, like me, only maybe a little bit more extreme,
Yeah.
this is not your kind of movie.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious what you thought about the trailer, considering this is absolutely not your kind of film.
Well, I despise horror. And if it's your jam, I love that for you. I love that there's movies for everybody out there. What I like about this is that this looks like it is a more serious Megan.
Yeah.
It has that little bit of camp in there, a little bit of comedy, and I do enjoy comedy horror. I'm a big Tucker and Dale versus Evil fan. I love Hot Fuzz and those kinds of things where we can have comedy and gore together. This could be potentially fun. Will I see it in theaters? No, because I'm a big baby and I need to watch it with the lights on and take a lap. But the cast is stacked on this. I mean, you got Dan Stevens, you've got Catherine Newton in there, you've got so many wonderful, wonderful actors. So it should be a really fun time. And if this is your kind of thing, I think you're in for a really, really fun movie.
Well, why do you think Elon Musk chose this movie as his first one?
Dude, you read my mind when I brought this image up. I'm like, and she was going through it. I'm like, Elon Musk, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, that is some ripped Elon Musk. You know what? I was different from John. I was actually cheering for the assassins to kill this little girl.
And I was cheering for the little girl to kill the assassins.
Yeah.
Because I think she needs to,
Not a
Ray's
kid
like
anymore.
yelling at the screen. He's like, kill her, get her, get her. I'm
Yeah.
like, Ray,
Yes, it does,
people
man.
kidnapped an innocent little girl. To the
okay,
best
here's
of
one
their
rule.
knowledge.
If you're going to be a crime underlord, whatever you called it, what do you call that? The
Crime
big
lord?
boss. Don't have kids until you're done with your crime underlording or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Because
think that's
come
how
on,
vampires
they're
were
always
born?
going to get kidnapped. They're always in danger. Why would you do that?
That's why I don't have
maybe it's 'cause-
kids.
yeah, maybe. Oh, it's because she's a vampire. I already told you how I thought this movie was going to end. I don't want to spoil it because I'm, the prophecy.
The prophecy.
Is that your name, your wrestling name, the prophecy?
Ray, the prophecy aura.
I'm saying that Gian
Carlo?
Yeah, Carlo,
Giancarlo?
is a vampire, and this is all a setup, baby.
Well,
And it connects the bodies.
obviously the whole movie's a setup. These assassins were set up
Oh yeah.
for the little girl to
You
eat,
see, I just told you.
to play with their
I
food.
just spoiled it for everyone.
Just all right, guys. What do you think about the? I thought the trailer was spectacular. I can't wait to watch this. Hopefully, you guys liked it too. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? In a recent presentation, Sony revealed their logos for a couple of films, including Venom 3. And a lot of people, some outlets online, then jumped on it and said, well, the logo itself kind of gives away who the villain is going to be. And it's another symbiote in the comics known as Toxin, who's kind of a third generation because, Carnage was begat from Venom and Toxin is begat from Carnage. So it's like third generation, whatever have you. Now, to follow up on this theory that this 3 kind of just gives away that it's going to be Toxin, they kind of back that up with this. Again, this comes to us from Screen Rant, right the following. The biggest reason Toxin is in the conversation about potential Venom 3 villains is that he was teased at the end of Venom Let There Be Carnage. The nod is vague and likely didn't mean anything specific to non-comic readers, but after being injured in the climactic battle between Venom and Carnage, Detective Mulligan, who, by the way, I really like this character in the movie, Detective Mulligan gains a yellow glow in his eyes and speaks of monsters. In Marvel Comics, Mulligan is the first and most important host of the Toxin symbiote, and this scene seems likely to set up his future bond with the creature. All right. It does make sense. Now, first and foremost, it's got to be pointed out that Sony did not say that the villain in the next film is going to be Toxin. There's nothing official that says that is, so it may or may not be true. But what a lot of the online folks are talking about, it does add up. It does seem to make sense, especially when you consider the Detective Mulligan thing at the end of the last film. That seems to make sense. Now, I am a fan. I know not everybody is, but I am a real big fan of the 2 Venom films. More of the first one than the second one, but I still had fun with the second one. I really enjoy these films, and I'm very, very excited to see the third. And the Toxin thing does seem to make sense. But I have to admit, a concern I have is, again? Like the first Venom, I get it. It was symbiote versus symbiote. Okay, so you had to have Venom fighting another symbiote. All right. Well, then the second one, you have him fighting a symbiote again. But I get it. It's Carnage. Carnage is a super popular character with a lot of people. You wanted to do the Carnage thing. I got it, and it worked for me. I didn't think it was as good as the first one, but it worked for me. You're really going to do Venom against another symbiote for a third time? Like, now granted, I can't tell you a pantheon off the top of my head of famous Venom opponents, but, and you know, you can't have Venom fighting, you know, Kite Man or whatever. I know, different comic universe, but still, hell yeah. See that? I would watch that. Kite Man versus Venom, hell yeah. I'd be totally down for that. 100%. But I got to admit that I am a little disappointed if it is indeed our third movie, and for a third time, it's Venom fighting another symbiote for a third time. Because you're going to run out of things you can do visually that are going to be interesting. It's like, we get it. Symbiotes, dangerous, blah. But I don't know, maybe this is one of those things where, because in the comics, Toxin is sometimes a good guy, sometimes a bad guy.
Yes, especially when Pat Mulligan is piloting him.
Yes.
They try to get everybody who, you know, evacuated the raft and bring them back to justice. He's trying to be a cop still. He's trying to be a good guy. He's got a wife who's pregnant at home. You know, he's really struggling with this identity. And
so could it be that maybe this is the thing where Toxin is initially looked at as a problem in the first part of the film, but there is a larger threat in the movie, hopefully not another symbiote, but there's a larger threat in the movie, and maybe Venom and Toxin have to, I don't know. Chris, what do you think about this whole thing?
I mean, that potentially could be it. I understand why they would bring Toxin in if we are going to continue on the symbiote kind of thing here, because Toxin, who is, you know, Carnage's baby, essentially, for lack of a better term, is one of the most dangerous and strong symbiotes that's out there. In the comics, a lot of times his power is kind of only second to null. And I don't know if you can jump up to null yet in the third Venom movie.
You can't do null.
You really got to rev up to null, because what a villain. What crazy nonsense in there. Oh my gosh. So you could do this, and we can deal more with that kind of anti-hero conflicted character, especially dealing with Pat Mulligan, who, if you've read the comics, does not have a good time. Bad things happen to Pat Mulligan. A terrible, terrible fate awaits Pat Mulligan. So you could do something really interesting here with that kind of character study. For the most part, though, these Venom movies have been fun. They've been fun, ridiculous, kind of monstery-ish movies. And I don't know how deep you can get here, honestly. I think you have a lot of room to play with, but unless you're going to go the full ride with Pat Mulligan, have like Blackheart come in and do what he's going to do, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff here. And honestly, a big thing here, I know, Jonathan, you were joking with your cough of Spider-Man, but really, Venom's foes are owned by Disney right now. I don't know who is all cataloged over to the Sony universe currently and who you could have Venom up against. Most of the great characters we see Venom taking on are the same ones that Spider-Man deals with too. So they really are kind of in a pickle here of what they can do next.
I really think they had a missed opportunity. Now, look, I'm looking forward to the Craven movie. I don't have a lot to base that hope on, but I have a lot of hope for that movie. But I still think there was a massively missed opportunity with the folks at Sony a couple of years ago, because I really think a version, an adaptation of The Hunt where Craven is introduced into this Sony world because he is out hunting Venom.
That's so much more interesting to me than oopsie doodle, I got some lion blood in my body.
Well, he still got that, but you're going to go after Venom.
But go after Venom.
And Morbius.
I'm just already that preview. I know, I'm sorry, I'm a negative Nancy about these movies. I wasn't a big fan of the Morbius trailers. I'm not a big fan of the Craven one. I don't, stop trying to make them good guys. Just stop. Make them real interesting. I don't care that he doesn't like his daddy. I don't care.
That's not very empathetic of you.
It's not.
Yeah, you're a cold soul.
I have
Picard.
no empathy for
Cold
these
soul.
characters. Let the bad boys be bad.
I mean, look, if you're going to make a movie about them, nobody ever makes a movie about the bad guy. I mean, they always, like, every studio says they do, but it's always, they end up just being more of an anti-hero or, you know, something like that. It's not, they've never made a movie about the bad guy. So, and I'm okay with Craven kind of being, he's seen as the bad guy because of the way he conducts his life, but he doesn't see himself as bad, and maybe some other, I'm morally gray. I'm fine with that, but I really thought it could have been an opportunity to introduce him hunting Venom. I thought
That would have been
pretty
dope.
Cool. All right, guys. with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? So, a couple days ago, a frankly surprising announcement came out that Lucasfilm was officially doing a Mandalorian feature theatrical film, and that it was not going to be directed by Dave Filoni, but rather by Jon Favreau. And this was going to be the next movie to go into production, which is, of course, bucking what we had been hearing for the last month or so, that the next Star Wars movie to go into production was going to be Rey. That apparently has been pushed off, and now they're doing Mandalorian, which tells me there's been, in just the last couple of months, a lot of behind-the-scenes rustling and reshuffling and moving things around and trying to make some decisions, which is always the best way to make decisions. Mm-hmm. So they came up with that, which left a question lingering. Well, what's happening with Ahsoka? Because we were led to believe that there was going to be a Mando-verse movie with Mandalorian and Ahsoka, stuff like that, and Dave Filoni was going to direct that. And poof, like so many other Star Wars projects, that's not been mentioned at all again since. So a lot of people wondered when the Mandalorian movie was announced with Jon Favreau directing, well, pardon me, what's happening with Ahsoka? So, true story, yesterday as we're doing the John Campea show, like 5 minutes before the show starts, Rob and I were talking about that, and Rob's like, what's going to happen with Ahsoka? And I said to Rob, you know what? I still 100% believe they're going to do an Ahsoka season 2. They're going to do an Ahsoka season 2. And then as we were doing the show yesterday, right near the end of the show, Lucasfilm put out an Instagram post on their social media saying Ahsoka season 2 is in development, and they just said the story continues. And they put out this little sketch, of course, that instead of Balin standing on the pointing hand of the Father Mortis God, that's clearly Ahsoka and probably Sabine standing behind her. So they're going back. They're going to do season 2. And whether or not it's just going to focus on that planet and what Balin was doing there, whether or not it's also going to pick up the story back in the regular universe where Ezra has now gotten back, Syndulla's there, what's going to happen with Grand Admiral Thrawn, or whether they're just going to keep it focused on Ahsoka, who knows? We'll have to see where they go with this. Now, of course, they ran into a bit of a road bump as the ratings of Ahsoka's season 1 declined episode after episode, ending tremendously down by the time they got to the finale, which threw up into the air, well, what do we do with this character? They decided to carry on the story. I'm interested. I did not end up liking Ahsoka season 1. I thought they made too many mistakes, but they set up, I mean, one of the things that Dave Filoni is so good at is mythology, and they set up the mythology in it well enough that I'm down for season 2. Even though I didn't really like season 1, I am down for season 2 to see where they go with this story that they kind of laid the groundwork for. My one concern, and this has been a concern of mine with Clone Wars and even a little bit of Rebels, and I really like Rebels overall. Everybody knows this, but even there, in Star Wars The Force Awakens, The Phantom Menace, one of the big mistakes they made was introducing midichlorians. And at the time, I remember the big discussion, and some of you guys watching may be too young to remember this, but at the time when that movie came out, one of the big discussions amongst fans was, why are you trying to demystify the Force? Why are you trying to explain the Force? For decades, we didn't need the Force explained. It was good enough to have Obi-Wan saying, it surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds the universe together. That was enough. Midichlorians, the answer you didn't want to the question you didn't ask. So, yeah, and then now to turn it into simply a medical condition. It's like, oh, you have enough midichlorians. Oh, you don't have enough midichlorians. What if we transfer midichlorians from one person into another person? A it was just one of those things. And one of the things that would frustrate me in Star Wars lore, whether it was in the novels or in the cartoons, is when they try to double down and go more into trying to explain the Force. And while there are a number of hardcore Star Wars animation fans that really loved, like when they got into the daughter, the son, the father, the Mortis gods, and stuff like that, to me it was another step in the wrong direction of, we don't need to demystify the Force. I just don't know that that's the right direction. Be that as it may, Balin was on some kind of big personal mission. I'm dying to know what that was. Clearly, it involved the Mortis gods. Ahsoka and Sabine are back on that planet with them. I am interested in seeing where the next stage of that story goes. Whether or not they pick up with the story in the regular universe, we'll have to wait and see. So I'm a little mixed on this. I do like that they're doing a second season. I hope it's not more about let's bring out the owner's manual of the Force and let's explain it all. I hope that's not it. Anyway, Chris, you heard about this. Were you surprised that they announced that they're going to do season 2? What do you think this means for the future of the Ahsoka character on the big screen? Do you think they scrap those plans? I don't know. How do you see this?
I was surprised just from a viewership standpoint because those numbers kept dropping and dropping. But from a narrative standpoint, this obviously makes sense. We were left with them stranded on that planet, with Balin still on a mission, with Ezra just coming home. So there were a lot of things where we could explore further. The thing is, though, I am only really interested, and I say this as a fan of the Ahsoka character from the animated series, I'm really only interested in seeing more Ezra and seeing more Balin. I'm not particularly interested in Ahsoka and Sabine right now. That's not really doing it for me.
I'm also really interested in Hera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love Hera. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead did a great job. Oh my gosh. My little doppelganger crushing it. All fit me, doing well in the world. Good for you. Yeah. Me if I cared. Oh my gosh. Good job, Mary. So I really want more of those characters. I am left with more questions now, though, of, okay, so you guys do have to recast the great Ray Stevenson.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... I think he did such a wonderful job and what a tremendous actor, but we do need to recast him if we're going to continue having a second series. Screen Rant a while ago postured that Graham McTavish would be a good
That's
replacement.
not a bad pick.
Davos from Game of Thrones, if those of you aren't aware of him. I think that'd be a really great actor to bring in there. And yeah, I just want more Ezra because the actor who was playing him, I think, nailed it. And when he got screen time, I was so just enraptured by what he was doing. I want more of that guy.
I want to throw in another name, maybe. Gerard Butler. As
That's
Balin.
another one that was on their list.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of Gerard Butler in there, too.
He would be pretty good in there. He's going to be in the live action of How to Train Your Dragon reprising his role.
That's right, as
which
the
is
dad.
wild to me.
He's the right age for it
Yeah,
now, too.
I think it's great. Just a wonderful full circle movement.
More Gerard Butler,
Yeah.
whether he's fighting tornadoes or
I
fighting...
love that guy.
Oh, yeah, I
Saving
love him.
I
presidents,
have
you
one.
know.
Justin Long could be.
Justin Long is
Justin
great for
Long
everything.
can do
Justin
anything.
Long should do
Don't
all the
speak
parts.
badly of Justin Long.
No,
No. We genuinely
I'm
want
almost
him to
better
have
than
more
his
work.
agent. I request him for every possible thing.
I love Justin Long.
I do
Is
too.
he like your godson at this point? Where
No,
you're like,
but
you know,
I figured maybe I get a little
Justin-
kickback after a few hundred suggestions.
That's true. That's,
probably
that's
won't.
smart.
All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Speaking of long digesting franchises, a big kind of out of nowhere hit that became a zombie. And don't give me this. It's not zombies. It's people with the rage fires. It's zombies. 28 days later with Cillian Murphy, who's now kind of tearing up. They did a sequel to it 28 weeks later with a dude from the Full Monty. What was his name?
I can't remember, but he's also in Train Spotting. I'll
He
look
was
it
in
up.
Train Spotting. He was in the Stargate show, and I completely forget his name, but he starred in the second one. Well, for many years there were talks
Robert
about them.
Carlyle.
What's that?
Robert Carlyle.
Yes, thank you. I
Oh,
love him.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah,
For
that.
Yeah.
many years, they talked about the idea of them doing a 28 months later. That never came to fruition. But now, apparently, 28 years later,
Boom.
that's happening. The folks over at IGN writing this 28 years later in development, sequel to beloved zombie classic, and it could happen as a trilogy. And apparently Danny Boyle and Alex Garland are working on them
Nice.
together. They wrote this: more than 20 years after its original release, 28 Days Later appears to finally be in line for a sequel. The Hollywood Reporter reports that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, who directed the original 28 Days Later, are teaming up to make 28 Years Later. If it's successful, it could even lead into the start of a trilogy. Now, what they're saying is that Danny Boyle, who I believe has an Oscar on his mantle, would direct the first one. Garland would write the script for the three, and then either Garland would direct the second or third, and Boyle would direct maybe one more or just produce the rest of them, whatever. A lot of times when reports come out about movies to franchises that are now getting kind of long in the tooth and older, I'll say, I think it's a little bit too late for this. But 28 Days Later is still on the lips of a lot of horror fans. People loved that movie. I liked the second one too. I didn't think 28 Weeks was quite as good as 28 Days Later, but I absolutely acknowledge that this is something that fans completely adore. They completely love. It's still talked about as an instant classic. And the fact that the idea of coming back with another one with the originators, with guys with Oscars and nominations and a lot of cred in the business coming back to do it again, I think this is something that will absolutely work. And I think the audience will be, this isn't going to be a $900 million movie or something like that, but you make this movie for like $70 million, this movie can make $400 million. 100%. I believe this movie can make $400 million, be very profitable for them. And if they have visions of making it into like a trilogy, God bless them. Now, for those of you who saw the first two, you kind of thought, well, you know, they solved the problem after the first one, you thought. Then the problem re-emerges in the second one. And of course, that little tag at the end shows that the problem is now bigger than it's ever been. So what happens in the subsequent 28 years? Did it make its way over to North America? Who knows? We'll find out. But this is one of those situations where I think this is actually a really good idea. And I think the audience and the fans will be there for this. Chris, you heard word about this. Right move, wrong move. How do you see it?
Oh, this is a move that doesn't involve me in any way, shape, or form. I'm very much Pamela Beasley on this one. I kept watching it and waiting for Sandra Bullock to show up.
Why?
Yeah, different one.
It's a very different movie.
That's a very different movie.
Oh, not yet.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
it.
I watched part of 28 Days Later, and again, this is not my genre, so I went nope. But if people are here for it, I'm here for it. Got nothing really else to say about it. Sorry.
I wonder if Jeremy Renner will make a return.
Oh, Jeremy Renner. I hope you do whatever you
if
want.
you saw the
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't.
He does not return.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
No returning for Jeremy Renner.
More time to renovate houses.
I think all these
Renovations.
I think all these zombies are after these Stanley.
Oh, they're not
cups.
zombies, Ray. They're it's actually a never mind.
These Stanley tumblers that everyone's going crazy for. I remember I liked the first 28 Days Later. I don't remember if I watched the second one. I probably did, and I don't know, but I really like the first one. That's all I can say.
You know,
about
it is
It's
funny.
been so long that
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's been
It
28
is funny
years.
how many people I've talked to that have said that exact same thing. Oh yeah, I remember 28 Days Later. I can't remember if I saw the second one. That was very, very popular.
I didn't even know there was a second one when you guys said 28 Weeks Later. I was like, oh yeah, there was that one.
Yeah.
But I don't remember anything.
But they
about it.
never got around. And I kind of like the idea of, I've already seen some people online complain that they should be properly doing it 28 months later. But the reality is, it's been, how long has it been since the first one came out?
Oh wow.
I mean,
the first? Okay, let me look that up.
think we're in the 2 decades range now. I think we're close to 20 years. What was the release date of the first 28 Days Later?
We got 2002.
2000, yeah, so we're over 20 years since. So you know what? Yeah, 28 years later. Now the question becomes, I don't think they ever said what happened to Cillian Murphy's character from the first one in the second movie. Like, he survives the first one, if I remember it all correctly.
Yep.
I don't think he's mentioned at all in the second one. So do you,
Oh.
with Cillian Murphy maybe coming off an Oscar win for Oppenheimer, do you try to get him back in it?
I mean,
Yeah,
that would be very gracious of him.
yeah, that would really be very.
Let me just put it that way.
Well, wasn't
Killian,
that
you
really-
just did Oppenheimer. What are you going to do next? Well, remember that zombie movie I did?
But wasn't that like his first lead movie?
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't
it
they
was
do
one
that?
of the-
That's the thing is, it could be a great thank you or like I could see him doing that, and that'd be really cool of him.
I mean, come on. That if you care about fans getting on your side, you going down and just doing this movie for them or whatever, for the love of this franchise, be great. I think it would be good. I mean, I remember my first introduction to him was Red Eye. That movie on the airplane.
Yeah.
And I'm also, if anyone's listening that can make this happen, give me another 30 Days of Night, please.
Oh,
Because it always, because I think them two
Didn't
came out.
they do a straight to home video sequel to
Oh
it?
yeah, they did.
That I never did bother watching.
Oh,
By the way,
Josh Hutcherson is having a, or not Josh Hutcherson.
Hartnett.
Wait, Hartnett.
Josh
There we go.
Hartnett,
Josh
yeah.
Hartnett
Yep.
is having a
Also
bit of a
Oppenheimer,
comeback.
yeah.
well, thanks to Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
But you brought up that Red Eye. and you guys know I did a documentary about movie trailers, and I don't think we mentioned this one, or maybe we did. Red Eye is one of the most deceptive bullshit trailers ever, which is too bad because it's a pretty good movie. But if you watch a trailer for Red Eye, you think it's a supernatural thriller that the devil is on the plane or something like that. And it's not. There's nothing supernatural about it. It's just a bad dude who's on.
No, we stuck with.
Was that Rachel McAdams that was in that with them?
Yep.
Yeah,
Good
we stuck
Canadian
with
girl.
Drive. We
Stabbed
stuck
him
with
in
the
the
Drive
throat.
deception on that one.
Yes. Anyway, all right. 28 years later is coming, guys. What do you think about it? I think it's a good move. All right. With that down, guys, we can still talk about here, is Deadpool 3 a foregone conclusion that's going to be the #1 box office film of 2024? Also, we've got, according to Forbes, 3 actresses, it's down to 3, who are in the running to play Supergirl. We're going to go over those names. And apparently Pedro Pascal is now clearing his schedule and dropping out some projects to make room for doing Fantastic Four. We're going to talk about that stuff and a few things more. But first, we're going to take a moment and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at MasterClass. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, MasterClass. Everyone, it's a new year, so picture that thing that you've always wanted to learn. Now, picture learning it from a person who's literally one of the best in the world at it, and that's what you get with MasterClass. This year, learn from the best to become your best with MasterClass. Don't just talk about improving, MasterClass helps you actually do it. Because MasterClass offers over 180 world-class instructors, so whether you want to master negotiation with Chris Voss, like I did, think like a boss with Martha Stewart, or learn the art of storytelling from the man himself, Neil Gaiman, MasterClass has you covered. Because with MasterClass, you get unlimited access to intimate one-on-one classes with the world's best. At MasterClass, there are over 200 classes to pick from, with new classes being added every month. And if you're a viewer of the John Campea Show, you probably love movie making, storytelling, television. So you would be totally interested in things like screenwriting from Aaron Sorkin, learn developing original TV series from Stranger Things' The Duffer Brothers, or maybe you like the music side of movies, well, you can learn film scoring from Hans Zimmer. And right now, our listeners will get an additional 15% off an annual membership at masterclass.com/Campea. Get 15% off right now at masterclass.com/Campea. masterclass.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at MasterClass for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, that down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Of course, Deadpool 3 is easily on any list you come across going to be one of the most anticipated films of 2024 coming up. But how big can it be? And that is the topic of today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. Listen, guys, if you've got a question for our show and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call our Mint Mobile hotline anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. Every day we pick out one or two, and today's is about, well, just how big can Deadpool 3 be? Check it out.
Hey, my name is Brian. So, John and crew, my question is, do you think that with Deadpool 3 coming out, with Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and possibly Taylor Swift with the latest rumors, do you think that Deadpool 3 could actually hit over $1 billion? Because I'm thinking Swifties plus Marvel fans plus Hugh Jackman in the MCU, yeah, we're going to hit over $1 billion. What do you guys think? And stay on the filthy.
All right, Brian, thanks a lot for calling that in. And look, we've talked a bunch about the idea about the possibility of just how big can Deadpool 3 be and can it hit the $1 billion mark. Now, you guys know I have said that I do believe it'll hit the $1 billion mark for a couple of very important reasons. Keeping in mind that neither Deadpool 1 nor Deadpool 2 hit the $1 billion mark. They did stand for a little while as the 2 highest grossing R-rated films of all time, before little films like Oppenheimer and The Joker came out. Still, massively big hits, all that kind of stuff. So why do I believe that it can hit the $1 billion mark? Well, first of all, Ryan Reynolds' star has only grown since he's done the Deadpool films. He's now kind of maybe the biggest star in the world at this point. Now, everybody knows I am, a little biased when it comes to my good Canadian kid, but still, I think there's an argument to be made he might be the biggest star in the world right now. So there's that. Number 2, it's been forever. When did Deadpool 2 come out? I think it was like 2016? 2017?
It is 2016.
16.
No,
So
18
we're
for
like
2.
8 years ago.
18 for 2.
Oh, 18 for 2. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're 6 years since the second one, right? We're approaching 6 years since the last one came out. So there's been a, absence makes the heart grow fonder kind of approach. People have been waiting and waiting and waiting. Another factor that everybody talked about is that, well, Deadpool is now in the MCU. That's going to increase attention. The most important aspect, though, is that Hugh Jackman is coming back. They were able to draw Hugh Jackman out of retirement of playing Wolverine to have Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together as Deadpool and Wolverine. All that added up. And I would throw in another aspect, the struggling state of the MCU right now. And I would honestly suggest that the struggling state of the MCU right now has a lot of MCU fans starving for something that is great. And great is just not something Marvel's done very much of lately. I mean, Guardians 3, a couple of other things, but really lately they don't make much that's great anymore. All that together, I think it can be $1 billion film. Now, there's 3 different tiers of that, because of the utmost importance is that the movie is great. Because if they make Deadpool 3 and it sucks, and listen, as much as I love Ryan Reynolds, we live in a world where Red Notice exists. And that movie sucked. And that was a Ryan Reynolds movie. So it is possible for a Ryan Reynolds movie to not be great. And so it's possible that maybe Deadpool 3 won't be. I think it'll be great, but it's possible that it won't be. And if it's not, I don't think it gets to $1 billion. It'll have a big opening, but word of mouth will spread real fast that the movie disappoints, it's not all that good, and you're going to see the box office drop, and I don't think it'll get to $1 billion. But if the movie's great, I think it'll get there. But can it be the biggest film of the year? And I'm going to say if the Deadpool movie is great, it will be, because there's not a lot coming out this year other than Deadpool 3 that really has strong billion-dollar potential. I mean, you've got Joker, Folie à Deux. The first Joker made $1 billion, and I love the first Joker movie. But I don't think the second one will do as well as the first one did. Like, I think it'll be a big hit. I think it'll make a lot of money, but I don't think it will cross that $1 billion film again. So I don't think Joker beats it. It's possible it could. I'm just saying I don't think it will. Dune Part 2 is a movie I am insanely excited for. And the first movie, given its circumstances, did real well at the box office, making over $400 million, considering all the things that were lined up against it, including being released day and date on HBO Max for free, the same time that was in theaters. It won more Academy Awards that year at the Oscars than any other film did. It's going to make a lot of money. But I don't know if Dune Part 2 is a $1 billion film. So I don't think it catches it. I'm looking forward to Argyle, A Quiet Place Day One, all these. I think these are all movies that can do really well, but I just don't see any of them having $1 billion potential. So if Deadpool 3 is a great movie, not best movie of the year, but a great movie, I think Deadpool 3 kind of comfortably ends up being the #1 box office film of 2024. That, of course, could change if the movie's not all that great, but that's how I kind of see it. Chris, we've only got Deadpool as the only Marvel film coming out. We don't have any DC films coming out, like big superhero genre kind of stuff. Yeah. We don't have a Star Wars movie coming out. We don't have, a James Bond film coming out. We don't have a Harry Potter coming out. We don't have I don't know if there's a lot of competition to challenge Deadpool 3 for the #1 box office film of 2024. It's still real early.
Yes.
Surprises can happen, aka Barbie. What do you think? Is Deadpool kind of a foregone conclusion that'll be the #1 box office film of the year, or could something else surprise it?
It definitely has the potential, right? But ultimately, quality is what's going to win the day, right? You can have all the star power in the world that you want, but if you don't have a quality film, word of mouth gets out and people don't go to theaters. People are very choosy about going to the movies nowadays. And even though next year is going to be a much leaner year, people are still going to stick to their principles of, I could watch that at home. I'm going to go see this movie. I've got 7 kids. I'm not going to take them all to this if it's bullshit.
And one's
right?
a ballerina.
And one's a ballerina.
One's a
No one
ballerina.
kidnap her. We talked about this last Friday too, about how, 2023 the big winners were fairly untraditional in terms of what people think is going to be big box office fodder. And I think that's the big exciting challenge for 2024 is what is going to make people excited about going to the movies? What kind of films and stories are going to really connect with audiences on a huge scale? Deadpool has that potential to do it. We've got the nostalgia factor of some of our favorite X-Men returning. We've got Deadpool, right? But it's also never been a traditional superhero kind of movie. Same with the Joker, right? That's not a traditional superhero movie by any means. So it's going to be really cool to see how this all shakes out. Honestly, though, I'm excited for this. And I know before I was a little nervous about Disney, Marvel only releasing one film. I'm really pumped about the potential of putting all your eggs in one basket and really focusing on quality. Will that for sure happen? We're going to have to wait and see. But I think it could do really, really well if they really focus, really, really work with their writers and their cast really well here and try to give us something that isn't big multiverse cameo nonsense. That's going to be in there. But if they give us what Deadpool's always given us, a heartfelt love story at the core of everything, this could be really, really beautiful and make a shit ton of money at the same time.
Right. Now, I'm seeing a few people in the live side saying, John, wait, you said no DC film, but Joker. Well, yeah, Joker is a DC character, but this is not a DC movie. I mean, it's not, this Joker
Elseworlds.
exists in a very, very standalone Elseworld kind of thing. Like, this Joker exists in a world where there's no superheroes and anything like that. So that's what I meant when I said there's no DC.
Yeah, there's no DCU. That's
There's
not
no
happening yet.
DC universe. It's not a part of a franchise or anything like that. So that's what I meant by that.
With Deadpool 3, maybe piggybacking off what Chris was saying, it just has to be rewatchable and like just
Yeah.
release a good movie. And I think TikTok will take it from there. Will get you to that place you need to be, because it seems like all the marketing and stuff on TikTok is getting people to go out and go crazy for things. I mean, just like either TikTok or whatever those
I don't know
whatever
that
people are
there's been-
using,
I
whatever
don't know
people
that
are
there's
using to
been
market
a-
stuff now. It's like a consumer. People are buying things off that thing. If there's like a good market, some good marketing on there too, maybe.
I don't think there's been an example yet of a movie that really benefited from a
Oh,
TikTok campaign
right.
yet.
Well,
So I mean, I'm sure TikToks have blown up, but I don't know if that's translated into people buying tickets and going out to the movies. But it's Ryan Reynolds, right? I mean,
Right.
when the first Deadpool came out, the thing that got everybody's attention was the way they did the marketing on it. Like, they did completely off the beaten path, crazy things with marketing. And I think 100%, I think you're right. I mean, I think Ryan Reynolds will absolutely
take advantage of it.
make TikToks and stuff like that as Deadpool to see what happens. But whether that'll translate, we will have to wait and see. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this. Speaking of the DCU, we all know at this point that James Gunn and Peter Safran, the new heads of DC, a brand new studio for the very first time, is launching a new DC universe of films, starting with Superman Legacy coming in 2025. Now, we already know a number of characters are going to be in there, including Superman, Lois Lane. We've got our Lex Luthor now with Nicholas Hoult. We've got a Guy Gardner Green Lantern in there. We've got Mr. Terrific. We've got Hawkgirl. And we got a lot of characters coming. One of the characters they said we would get, but we don't have an official word on casting yet, is Supergirl. Now, we knew it wasn't going to be Sasha Calle from
yeah.
The Flash. She was not going to be returning to reprise her role. Understandable. This is a new universe, all that kind of stuff. Well, according to Forbes, they claim to have the final three. And here's who they say are the final three in the running to play Supergirl. Leading it off is Millie Adcock, who, of course, played the young Rhaenyra Targaryen in House of the Dragon. Most people's favorite version of the character was the younger one, although I like both versions. I thought I liked the older one too. So she said she's in the final three. Play the role. Next up, from the Oscar award-winning film Coda, Emilia Jones. She was also in Netflix's Lock and Key. She is said to be the second in the final three in the running to play Supergirl. I'll be honest with you, other than Coda, I've never seen her in anything else. I didn't watch Lock
She was
and
good
Key.
on Lock and Key.
Do you watch it?
I did, yeah.
I was the show any good?
It was. I fell off towards the end, but man, that first season was phenomenal. It was really, really good.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that because I've only
Yeah.
seen her in Coda, which she was great. And then the third, I have to confess, I've never seen anything she was in. It's Meg Donnelly, also 23. They write, less known than the other two, perhaps, has appeared in Disney's Zombies series, which I never watched. The Winchesters, which I staunchly never watched, and High School Musical, which I also never watched. Interestingly, she has already voiced Supergirl in 2 different animated projects in the last year or so. And we get a look at her here, Meg Donnelly. So Meg Donnelly, what was the other name? Emilia Jones, and probably most well-known is Millie Alcock, and I believe they are all 23 years of age. Was that? No, Emilia is the youngest at 21 years of age. So this is one of those situations where I have no idea how they're writing the character, so I don't know which actor would be the best fit for it. So I'm just looking for the best actress possible. I am not aware enough of Emilia Jones or Meg Donnelly, but I know I loved the shit out of the performance Emilia Alcock did in House of the Dragon. She crushed that role. So if these are the final 3, I'm sure any of the 3 will do a great job. If I had a little vote right now, I would just go for the one that I already know I think is terrific. And that is Millie Alcock. Although, again, the girl was terrific in Coda, and I didn't see any of the other girls, so that's puts me at a disadvantage. But I'm sure any of the 3 will be great. But Millie Alcock, man, I think a lot of people will be excited if it's her. Anyway, Chris, what do you think about the final 3 that we got here? Are you sensing a type that we get here? And if you had to pick one, James Gunn calls you on the phone and says, I can't make up a mind between these final 3. Which one should I pick, Chris? Which one are you telling him?
I feel like I'd be like, are you sure we're not going to bring Sasha back? Are we positive? Because I really loved Sasha Calle. I thought she was one of the best parts of The Flash. Man, these 3 actresses, because I'm not familiar with Meg, but Amelia, I think, has done tremendous work both in Coda and then what she did in Lock and Key. She was very, very good, and because she really essentially was the lead of that show. She really held it together. And then
she
obviously...
looks like a young Mary Elizabeth. She looks like she could play your understudy.
Oh, hi, buddy. Another one of them. A close but not Chris Carr. It's my friend's favorite game where she'll be like, there's this commercial right now, and somebody looks like you. We have to find them. And then obviously Millie is an incredible actress who's done wonderful stuff on House of the Dragon. Millie is probably who I would gravitate towards naturally, just because I think she has some of the kind of fun pluckiness of Kara, especially if you ever read some of the like Supergirl and I think it was a Huntress team up that she did for a while that was really fun. Oh man, there have been some really, really good ones. But that being said, the voiceovers that Meg has done, that does make me think that maybe she could be the tie-in, because Gunn has gone on record talking about how he wants this cohesiveness across all different mediums with all of his characters. So if you are doing voices for a character here, you're going to be the on-screen character here as well.
But he means for his new universe.
Yes,
not
and
necessarily...
obviously this was pre-existing.
Right.
But if you really enjoyed her performance there, perhaps that could carry over here. And she's a stunning actress. I'll have to check out some of her work and everything too. All 3 would be excellent picks though.
Ray was saying he thought you can bring her picture back up there, Jonathan, but thought she could play the DC version of Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
Of Gwen Stacy. That's what you say. She could play the DC version of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we all
she's
know
kinda good.
that's the most popular DC character, Spider-Gwen.
Yes, exactly.
No, but this is going to be based off Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, right? From what I was reading.
From what I understand, yeah.
Which is a gnarly story.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. I'm not going to, but.
Oof.
Well, I can't wait to see who they pick. I mean, it's just one of the many cast things that James Gunn's going to have to announce.
Yeah.
Where we're all just like waiting. Just because as soon as you put a face to that character, then you can start
Envisioning it.
envisioning things, you know.
All right, guys. Who would you pick to be the new Supergirl? I like all 3 names. Again, I'm not familiar with the one actress's work, but she's been in a lot of stuff. If these are the 3 finalists, I'm sure any of the 3 will be great. I'm still putting my lot in with Millie, though, but we'll see how it all turns out. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this. Over the course of the last year, there have been, 832 people confirmed to be in Fantastic Four. I believe that's just for the Reed Richards role. We've had so many names. It was absolutely going to be Adam Driver. And it was absolutely going to be that guy from You. And it was absolutely going to be, I don't know, Pete Davidson. I'm sure at some point Pete Davidson was going to play Reed Richards. I don't know. But amongst all those names, a little while ago, a report came out of Deadline that Marvel was circling Pedro Pascal. And then a lot of other people came out of the woodwork saying, we've heard the same thing, that it was going to be Pedro Pascal. Now, Disney has never confirmed that. It's never been 100% confirmed. But according to a news story, and I'm getting this from Yahoo Entertainment, it seems like the production schedule has moved for Fantastic Four into a window of time that Pedro Pascal was supposed to be shooting another movie, and now Pedro Pascal has dropped out of that other movie. Again, this comes to us from Yahoo Entertainment. Write the following. Filming on Marvel's Fantastic Four movie has allegedly been pushed back from April of this year to Q3, so July, August, or September is when they'll start shooting it. Seemingly having a knock-on effect of the film's potential Mr. Fantastic Pedro Pascal. As Hollywood studios juggle, push, and pull the movie and television schedules after last year's strikes, which threw all shooting schedules into absolute chaos, projects are being shunted around to fit schedules for the likes of actors, directors, cinematographers, and more likely for monetary concerns. The Insider reports that the Fantastic Four movie had initially been set to start shooting this April, which would seem to have given a window to Pedro Pascal to play Mr. Fantastic, and he is rumored to be doing and still fit filming season 2 of The Last of Us and Barbarian director Zach Krieger's Weapons around it. Pascal has now, however, pulled out of Weapons due to scheduling conflicts which coincide with the reported change of the shooting dates for Fantastic Four. Okay, so basically, Fantastic Four was supposed to shoot in April, which Pedro Pascal had an open window for. Again, it's important to note, nobody has ever officially confirmed that Pedro Pascal has gotten the role. It's important to keep that in mind. However, they have now, as a result of all the scheduling conflicts going on, they have moved the shooting of Fantastic Four to July, August, or September in the third quarter of the year. In that window of time, back at the beginning of the year, 2023, they had announced that Pedro Pascal was going to be working on Barbarian director. That was a fun little breakout hit, Barbarians. But that director had a new movie coming out called Weapons, and Pedro Pascal was cast in the lead. And it was going to shoot in that window of July, August, or September. And so it is no coincidence that as they've announced that Fantastic Four has been pushed into that window, Pedro Pascal has dropped out of Weapons, which to me, again, Kevin Feige has not said it. The director of Fantastic Four has not said it. But to me, this essentially confirms that Pedro Pascal is indeed going to be our Reed Richards. And listen, some people may say, well, wait a minute. He had a contract to do that Barbarian guy's movie with Weapon. Yeah, but remember, when the schedules got all thrown out of whack due to the labor disputes between the writers and the studios and the actors and all that kind of stuff, there are clauses built in there that says, look, this was out of everybody's control. Schedules got moved around, and unfortunately, people are going to have to back out. So I think this pretty much confirms that Reed Richards is going to be played by Pedro Pascal. It's not 100%. Don't take that to the bank. We might find out something otherwise later. But to me, 1 + 1 + 1 do seem to be equaling up to 3 here. And just going back on what I said before, if this is indeed the casting, I love it for 2 reasons. Number one, my most important criteria is always, are you putting in a fantastic actor? Pedro Pascal is up for Best Actor of the Year at the Emmys coming up. He is a world-class actor. He's going to kill the shit out of this role. Secondly, Pedro Pascal is an actor who can convince me that he's the smartest guy in the room. And the number one thing, whatever actor plays this role is going to have to pick up, is that immediately you believe that that's the smartest guy in the room. And I think Pedro Pascal is going to be able to be the guy who can pull that off.
You know, I never cared. I've gone to say that when you guys talk about a Fantastic Four movie, it's not really a thing that I care about, like, or would care to see. They've always been a little boring to me. Like, it's like Marvel's down and they need to get the big bad out. If Pedro Pascal is actually Mr. Fantastic, I'm on board all the way. I mean, he is like my favorite headlining actor. You know, I got my guys like P. Willie, Joel Kinnaman in the back. You know, they're in the back. They're like my non-lead role favorites. But as in headlining actors, this guy's got to be at the top of the list. He makes everything enjoyable to me, even if it's something about something not enjoyable. Just he brings that charisma to everything that he does. I hope this is true, is all I'm saying. If you want me to care about this family, put him at the head of it, at the head of the table, and I'll go watch it.
Now, Jonathan, you brought up one comment on the screen there because, of course, obviously for a long time, a lot of the fan casting was John Krasinski and Emily Blunt as maybe Sue Storm, right? I mean, of course, that would have been, you couldn't write that any better. I mean, that's great. But, everybody knows I love John Krasinski, and I would totally be down for John Krasinski playing Reed Richards. But, all the things being equal, if I'm in a room and they put out 2 dossiers and say, which one of these 2 guys do you think will be the better Reed Richards? I think it's Pedro Pascal. Now, if you offered me a package deal of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, that's too good to pass up. Like that's too good to pass up. But I think Pedro's our guy. Anyway, Chris, what do you think about this?
I'm excited about it. I love Pedro. I think he's wonderful. I think he's great in everything he's ever done. I mean, I loved him in Narcos. I loved him on Game of Thrones. I think he's just an absolute class act. And I think he'd be a wonderful Reed Richards. So him opening up his schedule, I do agree with you, the maths. I think we're going to get him. I hope we are. We deserve nice things. Let's have him in this.
Yeah, John, I had a question to ask you. Do you think he could be, because The Rock has slowly lost this title of franchise Viagra, could Pedro, if he brings this Fantastic Four movie, if he is, could he be the next franchise Viagra?
Most of his stuff has been TV.
Yeah, I know, but the guy you bring in.
I don't think so, because like The Rock, he earned that title when, for instance, the Fast and Furious franchise was a franchise that made some money. The Rock came in, and all of a sudden, box office starts to skyrocket, right? And even with Black Adam, think about this: what is the number one DCEU out of the last 7 films since Aquaman, the first Aquaman movie? What's been the number one box office movie of the DCEU? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's one, right? I mean, Aquaman 2 might pass it, but as of now, out of the last 7 DCU films, it's not a coincidence that the one with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the one that made the most money. Even though it didn't even hit $400 million, it still made the most money. So Pedro Pascal hasn't done anything yet to show that he's box office Viagra, right? Now, Fantastic Four comes out and makes $1.7 billion. Well, then maybe he's box office Cialis. Maybe he comes in and we make him box office Cialis. But I mean, that could be it. All right, guys. What do you think about all this? Listen, maybe he's not even in. And by the way, I still haven't heard really strong, backed up with anecdotal evidence for any of the other casting of Fantastic Four yet, even though we know the roles have already been cast. They've been keeping those really great under secret. But what do you guys think about this? Let us know. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move on to arguably the most important part of our show, which is hearing from you, wanting your thoughts, theories, opinions, and questions. We're going to get to those in just a second, but before we do, we're going to take a moment and thank a couple of more sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Harry's and my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Harry's. You know, guys, in order to start the John Campea Show, I had to leave my high-paying corporate job in order to set myself up to be happier and enjoy more personal success. Because sometimes to get what you want, you have to challenge the status quo and blaze your own trail. And that's exactly what the folks at Harry's did. You see, at Harry's, they saw customers getting ripped off by questionable products in the shaving industry and decided to do something better. Harry's decided to pave their own road by making beautifully designed razors for a fraction of the price of the other big brands. Exceptional products, honest prices. That's Harry's. I have fallen in love with Harry's, from their foaming shaving gel that feels just luxurious on the skin, to their incredible razor that feels just as good in the hand as it does going over your skin. They've got rich, lathering, skin-softening body wash in scents like redwood, wildlands, and stone. You see, Harry's provides German-engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer. You can get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. Don't settle for the status quo. Blaze your own trail with Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. That's harrys.com/Campea for a $3 trial set. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. On average, it takes about 30 days for a person to break their New Year's resolution. So if saving money was on your 2024 list, your odds aren't looking that great. Luckily, I have a 100% guaranteed way to save you money this year. Just switch to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for $15 a month. I've told you guys many times that after switching to Mint Mobile, I am spending less than a third on my cell bill than I used to with a major carrier. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All Mint plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And don't worry about having to change phones or numbers. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So guys, to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bills to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And thank you to our friends at Harry's and Mint Mobile for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to hear what you have to say. Let's start things off here. What do we got first, Chris?
From Matt Boyle. Just watched Me, Myself, and Irene for the first time.
Oh, wow.
It's now my favorite Jim Carrey role. Got a little extra cheese on that taco, had me in tears.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I was just watching the most recent Dave Chappelle comedy special, and he talks about how the number one guy he ever wanted to meet was Jim Carrey. Mm-hmm. It's funny because when you think about all the films from Jim Carrey, I think Me, Myself, and Irene is one of the very last ones that ever gets mentioned. I'm going to admit, I didn't love Me, Myself, and Irene, but it absolutely had its moments. 100% had its moments for sure. All right, what's next?
From Bobby Jackson, I'm excited by the announcements of Gerard Butler and Nick Frost in How to Train Your Dragon live action film and the confirmation of Caitlin Denver in The Last of Us Season 2. Highly anticipating both.
Yeah, her, of course, she got introduced to the world in Booksmart, in which that movie's just remarkable. If you didn't see Booksmart, do yourself a favor, sit down and watch it. It's a better version of Superbad. I know that's a hot take for some people, but I think it's a better version of Superbad. So that's great. Gerard Butler coming back to play the lead, or to play the father role, is perfect. I mean, his voice in it was bang on, ideal, perfect. He's the right age. He can play that gruff dude. Because you know, look, take the fact that he was the original voice out of it. He's a great choice to cast in the role regardless. The fact that he was the voice in the animated stuff only makes it even more perfect. So I agree. All right, what's next?
From Renetta W. I'm so happy Angela Bassett got an honorary Oscar. It's so long overdue. She should have won for What Love Got to Do with It. Yes, she should have. Watch her speech. Very classy and a beautiful lady.
Who, by the way, who won that year that she was
Wasn't
up for
it,
What's Love Got to Do with It?
It was for the
Everything
piano.
No.
Or something. Hold on. Angela.
Yeah, well, look, this is kind of what the honorary Oscar is for people who have given us an Oscar caliber career, but maybe never got that Oscar. And again, often through no fault of their own, winning the Oscar is the most difficult thing in the world to win, because not only do you have to turn in a world-class, once-in-a-lifetime performance.
I've got Holly Hunter.
Holly
Yes.
Hunter.
Oh, for what, Newsroom?
Winners.
Oh.
Oh, no, sorry.
yeah.
Let's see.
Wasn't
Wasn't it
for
the piano?
Piano.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
For
right.
piano. But, and who's to say Holly Hunter shouldn't have an Oscar? But you got to hope that there isn't somebody else who also turned in a world-class, best of their career performance. It's really, really tough. Which is why for so long, Martin Scorsese didn't have an Oscar, until his version of Infernal Affairs came out. So it's tough, but this is why they make these awards, and you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who deserves it more than she does. That's great. All right, what's next?
From Sam Fisher, 1 of 2. Did you read Jonathan Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man #1 that came out yesterday? It was fantastic. Peter and MJ are married with kids, but Pete is getting his powers at 35, not 15. Feels really original. To be honest, it would feel like a whole new IP if it wasn't Marvel and they weren't Peter Parker, MJ, JJJ, etc.
It's a really cool story because in this world, Uncle Ben is still alive.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yep. and Uncle Ben is like the second in command. Pardon me. The second in command at the Daily Bugle, and him and Jay Jonah are like best friends. Like Jay Jonah and Uncle Ben are like best friends. Peter works at the paper. He's been working there forever. All this kind of stuff. But in this reality, Peter never got bit by the spider. So him and MJ are married. They have like, I think 2 kids. And then he gets this message from Tony Stark that says, this is going to make a lot of sense to you, but there was somebody who decided to try to wipe out all of Earth's heroes by making sure they never became heroes. You were supposed to live the life of a hero. You were supposed to be one of Earth's greatest heroes. But that chance got taken away from you 20 years ago. Oh, wow. And here, you have a choice now to embrace that reality. And inside the package is the spider that Peter was supposed to be bitten by.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
And it ends with him having to make a choice about whether or not to get bit by the spider. It's a terrific story. Because I've always loved the Jay Jonah character. And I really liked it because there have been storylines like Jay Jonah's a dick. But I've loved, like, through the decades when there have been stories that, like, when somebody who's a bigger dick comes out and Jay Jonah's got a code. And he's like, nah, that is not what people are supposed to do. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let this kind of stuff happen, right? So he's a dick, but he's a good guy dick. And I love it when they let his good guyness come through, even though he's an asshole.
I think we need to clip this out.
Wait. I hate to hijack this conversation, but I'm looking at the comic release list, and there's a Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong comic. What is going on here?
I think that's been out for a while.
I know, like, it's on number 4, but how did we not... It must be super bad. Never mind.
Anyway, so it's a really cool story. I don't know where they're going to go with it, but it was a really cool story. All right, what's next?
From Sanchez Guy 002. Hey, John, since I told you that Hasbro was 100 last year, this year, 2 of Hasbro's franchises, Transformers, is 40 years old, and G.I. Joe is 60.
I'm surprised Transformers is only 40.
Yeah, me too.
You know, it's weird. A lot of people look back and they think like GoBots were a knockoff of Transformers, but did you know that GoBots were actually around first?
That's why they're superior.
They killed Drax's family members. They're terrible.
Hey, who remembers the name of the main bad guy in GoBots? I can tell you the name of the big bad guy. He transformed into a motorcycle.
Yeah, I had him.
Oh,
I had
that
the toy.
was the bad guy?
Yep.
I always
and his
thought
name was Psy-Kill.
Yes, I kill. Yeah.
Instead of
Bill.
Cycle, Psy-Kill.
That's where they met.
I had a few GoBots.
They messed
When
up.
were GoBots?
Same time
Same
around.
time?
Yeah.
Transformers.
Okay.
I think the main good guy was like a space shuttle, but they were all this big. Like the Transformers were like this big, whereas the GoBots were all the minifigures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I never
the
caught on
Guardians
as much.
Christmas special, I definitely had to turn to Logan and was like, what the fuck is a GoBot?
Yeah, I think they had like 1 season of the cartoon.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's too bad. All right, what's next?
Too bad.
From Dildar, the Glorious! How's everyone doing today? I watched the director's cut of Daredevil for the first time the other day and really enjoyed it. Not top comic book movie, but underrated in my opinion.
I will always defend Ben Affleck's Daredevil movie. I contend that if you took out one of the truly most horrendous scenes in comic book movie history, the teeter-totter fight scene.
With your girlfriend?
Yeah, with Jennifer Garner. But if you take that scene out, Daredevil is not just a good comic book movie, it's a great comic book movie. I wouldn't say top 10 greatest comic book movies of all time, but I believe that movie gets shit on for unimaginable reasons. That's a great little movie. I loved it. I thought Jon Favreau in there.
He is great.
Spazzy is great. I love Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin. And Colin Farrell as
Bullseye.
Yes, Bullseye.
Yeah.
When he's sitting in the plane and the old lady beside him is irritating him, he's like about to lose his mind and he flicks the peanut so it goes down her throat and he kills her. Beautiful. It was awesome. I love that movie unapologetically. It's not great because it does have that one of the worst scenes ever in comic book movie history, but take that scene out, it's a great comic book movie. I will always defend this movie. Always. All right, what's next?
Always.
From Richard K. Do you think we'll get a Warhammer 40,000 movie soon? I love the Warhammer games, and they did it with Warcraft.
No, they're not going to do a movie because Henry Cavill's working on a series.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Now,
right.
when he ever gets around to actually doing it, because his dance card keeps filling up. So I don't know when he's going to get around to doing it, but no, don't expect a movie. But Henry Cavill apparently is working on a series. So hopefully that happens sometime before 2030. All right, what's next?
Hi, that's the John
From the
Campea
John
Show.
Campea Show podcast.
Yeah, subscribe.
From Christopher Brickner, Bill Belichick leaves the Patriots. Patriots fans, goodbye, Bill. Goodbye, Bill. We love all that you've done. Other NFL fans, fuck off, Bill, and never come back.
Yeah, until your team needs a coach and watch everybody begging and pleading for Bill Belichick. The greatest probably coach in sports history. You know, it's funny, but like in 24 hours, 3 huge coach. First of all, Pete Carroll, no longer coach at Seattle. Bill Belichick, 6 Super Bowls, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 12 divisional championships out. And yesterday, maybe arguably one of the greatest coaches in collegiate history, Saban, retired from Alabama. Like within 24 hours of each other. It was really crazy. All right, what's next?
From Mega Red 555, I just watched Paddington 1 and 2 this week, and oh my God, those are absolute masterpieces. I can't believe I waited so long to see it. I wish Paddington was real so I could give him a big ol' hug.
Listen, for everybody, I know there's still a lot of you that never watched them. And I get why, because I remember Schnepp and I, we were going to see it. Like, we didn't even want to go see it. We were just going to go see it because it was our job. I get why you haven't watched it, and I get why you roll your eyes when you hear people say that these movies are masterpieces. Watch them. They are masterpieces. If Paddington 3 can be in the same neighborhood as Paddington 1 or 2, it enters that top 5 greatest trilogies of all time. I'm not even joking. I'm not being facetious at all. These movies are absolute perfection. You got to watch them, man. If you still haven't checked out those Paddington movies, you got to watch them. They're absolutely incredible. All right, what's next?
From James Wheeler, who sends in a $20 super chat.
Thank you, James.
Hello, everyone. As a Massachusetts native and lifelong Patriots fan, I want to thank Coach Belichick for his amazing service. Greatest coach ever.
Literally followed up perfectly that other one.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, what else can you say about the guy? But right now, 25% of the NFL teams don't have head coaches right now. Right now, his phone's ringing off the hook. There are a lot of teams that are willing to throw ungodly amounts of money at him to bring him in for one last 3-year stint to turn their program around, blah, 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 blah.
But at what cost?
Everything. Everything. How much money you got in your bank accounts? That much. That's how much you got to give me.
Talk about a team, like a team morale change, like completely 180 from a lot of teams. He'll go in there and it'll be so different.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
It'll be listen, but he's been the same coach for a quarter of a century in one team, and I think it's good for the dude to move on and let New England Patriots do a complete fresh start and go coach somewhere else. Give yourself a fresh opportunity for the last couple of years of your career. I think it's a great move. All right, what's next?
From Andy, I was today years old when I found out that Ming-Na Wen is 60 years old, which took me through a lot of mental gymnastics to believe that.
It is take the 60 out of it. Doesn't matter. Ming-Na Wen is one of the most male or female beautiful creatures to walk the face of the earth. And I still remember, it's weird because when you look at her in something like the Joy Luck Club, which was 500 years ago, and then you look at her now, you think, yeah, she looks a little bit old. She don't look like it's been 30 years since the Joy Luck Club. And I remember, I don't know why, because Disney knows I hated Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So for some reason, at all the Disney premieres, they always sat me with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast. So I would always be right by Ming-Na Wen. And I was always floored. Sometimes she'd be in there with her adult children and I think grandchildren. And I was it's crazy when you think about that. Cause she is beauty and grace and all that personified. It's crazy that any human organism can age the way she ages. It's incredible. All right, what's next?
From Andy, I low-key want Jensen Ackles to play Kratos just so I can say that Dean's back to killing monsters and gods while he carries his wayward son.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of roles I could see Jensen Ackles playing. Kratos is not one of them. I could absolutely not see. Unless you get the littlest Kratos running around, but I love Jensen Ackles. Everybody knows how much I love him.
Maybe you can
But
play the boy.
and I think he'll be the first one to tell you he's not the guy to play that. I'm just looking forward to playing Soldier Boy more. All right, what's next?
And another one from Andy. $15 super chats total. Thank you, Andy. Pedro Pascal leaves weapons film. Jensen Ackles. Finally, I've got a chance at this weapons movie. 2 Jensen Ackles super chat for the win.
What? Yeah, because
All right,
wasn't
you win?
Oh, for Last of Us.
it wasn't yeah, because he
Jensen
wanted to play
that
Joel.
role so bad.
Yep, he really wanted the Joel role in Last of Us. Now Jensen Ackles, he was very graceful about it. It's like, listen,
he was-
they totally got the right guy to play it, but he wanted that role so bad. So it would be kind of poetic justice if he picks up the role in Weapons now. It would just be kind of fun. I hope he does. All right, what's next?
From Amin. Thoughts on the new casting announcement for Last of Us Season 2? Young Mazzino, Beef as Jesse, and Isabella Merced as Dora, Superman Legacy for Dinah.
I don't know enough of their work. So I read them and I thought, look, these are secondary characters. Obviously, the Abby one was the big one. The Abby one was the most important one, the one they had to totally crush. And I think they did. I think they crushed that. So listen, one thing you can say about The Last of Us first season, every casting was perfection. From the major characters to the minor characters, it was all perfection. So I'm sure these are going to work out just fine. All right, what's next?
From Christopher Brickner, Bill Belichick had 2 major flaws. 1, he was too dependent on Brady to run the offense. 2, he was really bad as the GM of the Patriots.
That's a big problem to have.
Yeah. 9 Super Bowl appearances, 12 divisional championships, 6 Super Bowl rings. Terrible GM. The complete reupheaval of the team every 4 or 5 years, and they still won titles. Dude, that's one of the most ridiculous things you can possibly say.
I have a feeling he's being
And by the
sarcastic.
way, listen, Brady was only Brady because of Belichick. Belichick was only Belichick because of Brady. The two are intrinsically connected. But let's not forget that the year Tom Brady went down, like if that was true, it was all dependent on Tom Brady. He was a terrible GM, couldn't put in good things, blah, blah, blah. There was that year that Brady went down with the snapped leg. Remember that? That team, they had just went on to win 11 games that season without Tom Brady. Working off backup quarterbacks and stuff like that because Bill Belichick was an awesome GM who put together great teams and was able to completely recycle those teams every 4 years or so. And even without Brady, they managed to pull off an 11-win season. So, I mean, listen, it's subjective and everything, but you got no data to back that up.
I don't
at
know.
all.
Chris may have something to say about
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
Chris is telling me.
Chris had to
Gosh, you
say.
guys, I don't even want to get into it. I don't want to explain it and have you all be confused. I don't want you to be
'cause we're-
embarrassed.
That's true. Because you move really
Listen,
quickly with this
I
stuff.
talk real
Michael.
quickly,
I'm just on
especially
another level.
about my boys back in Boston, you know.
All right, what's next?
From Raymond Verada. Hi, Chris. Hi. Have you attended conventions as a guest signing for autographs? I noticed there are popular voices like voice actors like Tara Strong, Ashley Eckstein, David Hayter, or the actress who plays Dora. Well, Raymond, thank you very much. First of all, I would need to be a popular voiceover actress to do that first.
You are.
Thank you, Ray. But I need to have some notable characters. Most people aren't like, oh my God, are you the girl who voices the Leapfrog commercials? Oh, give me your autograph. Yeah, I did Leapfrog.
I
Have
need
you
an
heard
autograph.
her
Yeah,
HTC
I'll do that.
commercial? John,
I have not.
Ray
No.
loves
have
my
you heard her
HTC commercial.
No.
Aw.
It's amazing. I'm like,
Thanks,
this is
buddy.
I love HTC. Please come back.
I remember you used to love those.
Yeah,
programs.
that was my. I was a diehard
Ray was
HTC.
really, really sweet one day, and I came in, and he was just watching all of my commercials.
Yeah, I
was just
downloaded
like,
that
oh,
one.
Chris, these are really good.
I downloaded that one off YouTube just so I
It
could
was
have
very
for
sweet.
my memory.
I did book something really cool that these guys know about that I won't be able to talk about until it gets released. But hopefully that'll be something that maybe gives me some momentum. But thank you very much for asking. It's very, very sweet of you.
And then James
All right.
Wheeler down there.
James Wheeler, Samara Weaving is Hugo Weaving's niece.
Yeah, I thought I
Thank
heard
you.
they were related. Yeah. All right, what's next?
From Sean in 3D. I'm weirdly looking forward to Creature Commandos. However, do you think it's a good idea for Gunn to mix animation into live action universe canon?
We won't know until they do it. Now, it's because the people who he has voicing those characters will be the ones to act them out when they do cross over into live action. It can work perfectly fine, but I mean, it's going to be hard to say until we actually see it in action and see what they actually do. So If James Gunn thinks it's going to work, let's see if it'll work. All I know is this. Back when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they made the announcement, now that we own it, everything is going to be canon. All the comics that come out, animations, books, novels, movies, shows, it's all going to be canon. And I remember way back in the day, I said, that's a nice thought, but I don't think you can do it. And sure enough, it only took a couple of years before the cracks started to show. And all of a sudden, they were putting out things that were completely contradictory to each other. And then they changed their tune. I remember Pablo Hidalgo came out and said, well, when it's consistent with the other properties, then it's canon. And if it's not consistent, it's not canon. I'm like, really? Thanks for explaining that. Whether or not James Gunn is going to be able to carry that on too, we'll see. It's a challenge, though. It's a challenge. All right, what's next?
From J Loco. You know what? I don't mind more what if seasons until Marvel gets their shit back in order. I don't mind alternate stories of the past golden years.
Here's the problem though with what if. It's meaningless. Like there's no stakes, there's no nothing. They're literally just, it's fan fiction. What if is just basically fan fiction. And I get it. When every time I bring this up, people, well, no, John, and what if season 1, the Dark Doctor Strange, he showed up in Doctor Strange 2. Nobody cared. That you didn't have to watch What If at all to understand that this was a darker version of Doctor Strange, whether it was or wasn't the Ultimate Strange we had. It didn't really matter. That's what these things are. They're just kind of meaningless throwaway fluff, short stories. Some of them okay, some of them are really lame, but I don't mind if they make What If. I mean, I don't mind. It's fine. It's something to watch.
They'll ever mean anything to the MCU. Actually,
yeah, I don't think they'll ever actually have any heavy.
I mean, I still look forward to all the DC, and I know you don't like you're not a big fan of the DC animation, but anytime they release a new movie, like on Max or whatever, I'll watch it. I even watched the Warner Brothers Mortal Kombat series that they're still pumping out. Just Marvel hasn't done it for me animation wise in previous history.
Me either. All right, what's next?
From Harbs K. Hey, John, I only watched Echo episode number 1 and thought it promising as a setup, but your review yesterday only confirmed my fears. I'll pass on it and go to Brother Sun. That's a fun show so far.
Brother's Son
Looks
is
fun.
so good. I never even heard of it. I had no idea that show was even coming out. And then Anne's like, hey, I watched the first episode of this Brother Son. I think you should watch it with me. I'm like, I've never even heard of it. She's like, Michelle Yeoh's in it. I'm like, Michelle Yeoh's in it? And they haven't even heard of it? This show is so good. It's so delightful and charming and wonderful. It's great. I agree. I thought episode 1 of Echo had some promise. Look, one of the things that I give it full credit for too is that they did what I wish more Marvel shows could do. You did not have to watch Hawkeye to watch Echo. And you didn't have to watch whatever else to watch Echo. They used the first 5 minutes to explain everything you needed to know in a mishmash of flashbacks and whatever. So in the first 5 minutes of Echo, you knew everything you had to know. And if you hadn't seen anything else, you were totally good to go. And that's not easy to do. And I applaud them for it. I think that was great. And I thought episode 1, I agree, had promise. It had the only really good action sequence in the entire series.
Yeah.
It's just then to me, it fell apart. I talked about it yesterday, but one of the big missed opportunities for me was when you look at a film like, we talked about it yesterday, like Harrison Ford's Witness, right? Where he lives amongst the Amish community. That movie totally took advantage of getting into the culture and to the society and the way these people function and the way they are and their traits. And you really got to know their culture. And that became a part of the movie. I was expecting, the way they talked about it, that this native tribe, that their culture was really going to be a big thing about it. But other than the fact that they kept referencing back to their Genesis mythology, they never once got into the culture, how these people today live, what their society is like, how they treat each other, how they live their lives. Instead, it was just another grandmother, just another best friend, just another pawn shop owner, and they missed opportunity.
They just did more of the aftermath of their culture when Fisk came moving in with its business.
Yeah.
Of what it turned out to be. I really like the old man that helped her fix her leg. That guy, he
Good
was
Canadian
very,
actor, by the way.
He was great.
Good Canadian guy.
And I am kind of in love with Bonnie. I'm not sure. Who knows?
Because she's got superpowers, you know.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Out of nowhere, got superpowers.
Give me that spinoff, please.
Anyway. All right, what's next?
From Chris Miner. Pumped to see Soul how it's meant to be watched. I assume meaning in theaters.
Yeah,
Because they're
again,
re-releasing those.
You know, a lot of people keep asking me because they're putting Soul, Luca, and Turning Red into theaters. And, you know, there was a debate going on in the live chat the other day about whether or not these movies are going to make any money. No, they're not going to make any money. But you got to understand, the reason Bob Iger is putting these movies back in theaters is not so they can make money.
It's a reckoning.
It's a reckoning. Yeah, it is. This is Bob Iger saying, hey, as the CEO of Disney now, this is our apology to all of you guys at Pixar who got fucked over when the previous CEO took your films and dumped them on streaming. And this is our way of saying you matter to us. And these films always should have been released theatrically. And even though we know it's not going to make us any money, we are going to give them their day to be in theaters. And that's completely 100% why they're doing this. It has nothing to do with making any money because they know they're not going to make any money. You and I can just sit down in front of Disney Plus today and watch these great movies, especially Turning Red. But I think it's a very, very good Pixar morale move for them to say, we're going to put these things in theaters. All right, what's next?
From our members. From Repossessed Duress. Sorry. On a scale of 1 to 11, how excited are you for the upcoming Toxic Avenger remake? And if this is successful, could this be the grand return of great exploitation?
0. I'm not going to lie to you. I have no excitement about this. I don't think it's going to be any good. I hope it's good. I go into every movie hoping it's great, but I have 0 expectations. So I'm honestly not expecting much from it.
There's a bigger Toxic, I think of different things now. Now, you know what I mean? It's not.
Come on, we've all got the Britney Spears song in our head now. All right, what's next?
From Zen Quantum 1246, the Abigail trailer looks like Don't Breathe, but with can artists and a child vampire. I'm in. Con artists.
I like the way you put it, Chris. What do you say? It was Ready or Not crossed
Here I
with
come.
Megan.
Yeah,
That's
a
what
more
this
serious
feels like.
Megan. Yeah,
And I'm 100% there for it. I think this trailer looks great.
I'll watch it
I
on
hope you
demand.
guys-
She's
All right, what's
already
next?
dead, Ray. She's a vampire.
She's already dead.
Gosh. I'm in. Been going through predictions of which films are likely to get nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. Seems like there are 9 films that are basically already guaranteed. The 10th one looks likely to be The Zone of Interest and not Spider-Verse. We all know it should get nominated, but do you think Spider-Verse actually will? Also, have you seen The Zone of Interest?
This is the German one?
I'm not sure.
I think so, yes.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I believe, will get
Yes.
the
It's the war
nomination.
film.
I think it will. It's just, first of all, it's a top 5. To me, it's still the best film of the year. I haven't seen Poor Things yet, so I that's why I put an asterisk on that. But Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is just far too good. I think the Academy will give it, I mean, with 10 nominees, I think they will give it one of those spots. At least they damn well better. They damn well better. All right, what's next?
From Ulatan. Fun fact. Ricky Gervais was a British pop singer in the 80s. He was in a group called Siona Dancing.
I've never heard that.
I think I remember hearing something like that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, time for one more. What's our last one today?
From Dominic Suma. Do you guys think we'll get a proper Star Wars Episode 10 within the next 5 to 7 years? I heard Chapek wanted it to go straight to Disney+. Plus.
Well, Chapek wanted everything
That
to go
did
straight to Disney
surprise
Plus.
me, yeah.
5 to 7 is tight.
JPEG went to Disney
Look,
Plus.
I 100% believe there is going to be a Star Wars Episode 10. 10, 11, and 12. That's going to happen. 5 to 7 years, I'll say yes. Because you didn't just say 5, you said 5 to 7. So because you said 5 to 7, I will say yes. Chris, what do you think?
I feel like we should. 5 to 7 seems reasonable. And we're getting the Daisy Ridley movie has to come out within that span, right?
Well, I mean, Theoretically, they say they're still going to go into production on that probably by late this year, early 2025.
Ooh.
So hopefully Mandalorian is great.
Yeah.
Gets everybody excited about Star Wars movies again, but they got some work to do.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And with that down, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank the people in the room with me. We got Ray Ora,
Cheers.
Jonathan Voico,
Later.
the soon-to-be world-famous Chris Carr,
Aw, bye, guys.
and to you guys. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.